Welcome back to another episode of Matters of the Heart and Soul podcast. This is your host, Russell Bruce, and today we have a very special guest. This is my good friend, brother, former teammate in college at Westminster, Mr. Craig Randall. How are you doing today, brother?
I'm good, my man, my friend.
Good stuff, good stuff. So let me tell you a little bit about this guy. He comes from Overbrook High School out of Philly, where Wilt Chamberlain, Will Smith, all these other people that went to school. Craig played on the number one team in the nation, 1978-79. They were 35-1, and I think even a year after that, they went undefeated. So he comes out of a powerhouse, out of Overbrook in Philly. We met up in Westminster, where 1984, he was All-American. He was MVP of the district. Also, he is currently in the Hall of Fame for Westminster. And I could go on and on and on. This guy, it was an incredible basketball player, very influential on me. I went to camp at Westminster when I was in high school. Craig, it was 2 years ahead of me. And this guy was one of those guys I wanted to pattern my game after. Tremendous shooter, a man of great faith, discipline, all that good stuff. And he was a treat to watch play. And I had a chance to be on the court and get to see it firsthand. So once again, welcome to the show, my brother. And fill in the gaps. You're from Philadelphia. Were you born and raised in Philadelphia?
I was born and raised in Philly, 1961. So if you do the math, I am 64 years old.
64 years young.
64 years young.
64 years young. So how did you end up at Westminster?
Actually, I transferred to Westminster. Coming out of high school, with our prominence, there were 7 seniors that year that played on that team. And all 7 had opportunities to go to college, and all 7 went. The starters went Division I. I went Division II. Several went to junior college. Ended up starting college at Southern Connecticut State University in New Haven. It was an interesting scenario. Never ended up playing there. Coming from the inner city, you have this persona of yourself. So when you go into environments that are similar, you go with a mindset of you're going to compete. I happened to be in college at the time with a couple guys that played with Pat Ewing, but felt I deserved an opportunity to play. The coach there, though, he and I didn't see eye to eye. And I had been recruited by Westminster coming out of college, along with a number of the smaller schools, NAIA and Division III, and several Division IIs. But Southern Connecticut, because of its location, I went to visit, like what I saw. Coach made a lot of promises. But you being an athlete and having known another number of athletes coming out of high school, rarely is the story the same once you get to college. The story they tell you is not the story you live. So I get to college thinking I'm going to play. That was nothing close to that. The coach acted, he didn't know me. So I made some comments about he would never get another player out of the city of Philadelphia. That got back to him by one of the seniors, called him to the office. And from that point forward, we agreed to separate. Got on the phone, high school coach. He reached out to the coach, made the same comment that I did, that he would never get another player out of the city of Philadelphia. And ended up calling Coach Galbraith, who we both played for in the door. He invited me up for a visit, went to visit. And at the time, there was a movie out called 101. It's a kid by the name of Robbie Banks was an actor. And his story was one I could relate to. He walked into the gymnasium and looked around and knew that was home. And I did the same thing. At the time, Westminster was one of the few small schools that had an overhead scoreboard. I walked into the gym and fell in love with the environment. much different environment that I had grown up in, but that was how I got to Westminster. Never expected the experience, but getting there was the start.
Good stuff. So your career was somewhat legendary. I got a chance to see Craig 2.0, and we heard all the stories about the incredible work ethic. Like, you would actually pay people to get up like 5:30 in the morning, go down to the gym and rebound while you put up hundreds, if not 1,000 shots a day. Could you fill us in on that, and also where the nickname Mad Dog came from? Because when I seen you, you're this like very spiritual guy and just very disciplined. But then I'm like, well, where does this Mad Dog guy come in from? Because I never met him. Tell me about that.
Well, my role on my high school team was a little different than most. I could have gone to different high schools when I transferred to Overbrook, but I wanted an opportunity to win. And when you come into an environment like that, they have an established set of guys who have been there, as freshmen, sophomores. The year before, they had my junior year coming to Overbrook. The year before that year, they beat West Philly High School, which had a record of 68-0 that year. When I arrived, I didn't make the varsity team my junior year. I played JV as a junior. Averaged, good amount of points. But coming to my senior year, they had scoring. They had all first team, all public, all city players. So my role to make that team was not going to be scoring. My role was to handle the basketball and to defend. It's so much so my senior year in high school, I scored 101 points in 36 games. So during that time, we did a lot of things coming out of Philadelphia that are kind of connected to being in the ghetto, in the hood. There was this drink called Mogan David 2020. It was an alcoholic drink. And Mogan David and I we were very good friends. That's how I got the nickname Bad Dog.
Wow.
That was how it was identified. It was Mad Dog 2020. And I drank it quite often. So that's how I got there. So coming into Westminster, I was very defensive minded. Really couldn't shoot. Had a kind of a weird form that made me an inconsistent shooter. And obviously the coach we played for was probably one of the best shooters that I have ever known.
Incredible.
So I didn't adjust well right away. Westminster was much different than Philadelphia. Predominantly, there were probably less than 1% minorities at Westminster, small liberal arts college.
Exactly.
And coming in, I brought the city with me, which was different than what they had been used to. They had players out of Pittsburgh, who were, of their own right, inner city kids or ghetto kids. But I was a little different. I had edge. I had attitude. I had a mouth. I played with a chip because of where I came from. We were, as you noted, we were the best high school team in America, and I knew I was one of the best players in the city of Philadelphia, even as a sub. So I came with an attitude that I had something to prove. The difference was that wasn't the environment that was ready for me, and nor was I ready for it. Actually, I almost left Westminster because I wasn't playing. I was playing JV as a freshman, and I knew I was better than a number of the guys that were in front of me. But because of the attitude and approach to playing, the fact that those guys could shoot better, and I wasn't a good shooter, it limited what I did. I met a gentleman by the name of George Lehman, who was a frequent speaker at Westminster College, was an East Coast guy out of Camden, New Jersey, who I would rebound for when he came to camp. And uh, I'll never forget it. At the end of the year, I had a good JV year as a freshman. At the end of that year, Coach Galbraith called me into the office and said, "Hey, I think all of the things you bring to the table are great." He said, "But no one's going to want to play with you because your attitude is not conducive to being a good teammate." Uh, so I had to make some changes. Uh, that summer of of uh, of 1981, after the summer I had really going to work and changing my form. And you're right, I was shooting 1,000 jump shots a day. I was in the gym Friday and Saturday nights when my cohorts and contemporaries were at frat parties. I was in the gym. Uh, I'm sure Galbraith mentioned often during camp that he would come down to the gym on Friday and Saturday nights. I would be running the stairs. I'd be running suicides. That's how I spent my summer. In 1981, I had a life-changing experience. I met God, and the church I went to in Youngstown, Ohio. I was introduced to a different way of life, changed my entire perspective as a person, and it actually changed me as an athlete. Instead of playing for myself, I played for a higher calling, a different approach. It wasn't about me; it was about him. Uh, and from that point forward, my whole approach to playing and why changed. And it was evident because we had a kid by the name of Kevin Haynes, who was lightning fast, crazy athletic, about 5'9", and I could never beat him. We were roommates in the summer.
I remember.
And when my life changed and priorities changed in that summer, in August of 81, he never beat me again. He went home, never came back to school. And so I'm coming back to school predetermined by Coach Galbraith that I was going to be a sub. Had a great freshman year, JV. We beat the alumni who would come back and play. There was a fight in practice the day before the first scrimmage. Our senior captain, who's no longer with us, Tommy King, he got into a fight. And the rule was you fight, you don't start. He never got back in the line. He was a sub senior year. I started, how they grade plus minus. I think I had the highest grade that Galbraith at that point had ever recorded. I was a plus 31. I remember it because it was unique, because 1 and 3 is 4, and in the Bible, 4 is order. And that was the start of my basketball ascension at Westminster.
Wow. Yeah. So you mentioned a few names there, like Tommy King. And Tommy, if I'm not mistaken, he's about 6'4", 6'5".
He was 6'4", 6'5", freakish athletic, long arms. Played at the famed Braddock High School in Pittsburgh. He was that guy for Westminster. His junior year led us in scoring. Was all district as a junior, but he got into that fight, and God would have it that he never saw the floor as a starter again his senior year. But we were a better basketball team because of it.
Yeah, and King. So I remember they had recruited King and Joe Sorochin.
Yes.
And
Yes.
2 good players. They were solid, but both from New York. They loved to go home, and I remember them going home and never coming back one time. And I think Joe was shooting like 60-something% from the field, leading the district in field goal percentage.
Yeah, Westminster wasn't for everybody, and neither was Galbraith. He was a man of faith and great principles. His style of communication was direct, but he could also be like most coaches. He could play the mental game if you didn't understand how he was operating.
Yeah, I dealt with that after you guys left, right?
I,
Because
yes.
you had chance, you had the luxury in high school. You played with Tony Coster, one of the top big men in the country, what 6'10", 6'11",
He was 6'10".
and then in college you played with the big guy. You guys
Correct.
won the district and went on to the national championship or national playoffs in Kansas City. So you had the luxury of playing with a big guy, and once you guys left, our big guys weren't big guys. Let's put it that way. They weren't that big or didn't play that big. And then coach kind of changed the philosophy. Like we were trying to hold teams under 55 and wanted to be more patient, work the ball inside. So he took the ball out of the hands of the guards where, we sat back and watched you like just do your thing. I'm going to tell you guys a story. My sophomore year, I started the second half of the season after his
eligibility ran out.
Yeah, his eligibility ran out. I filled that starting role and got a chance to play in the backcourt with this guy. And my claim to fame that year, I shot 56% from the field because I only took wide open shots like after they double triple team you. And I think we beat Waynesburg that year, and I think that's probably the only time we beat them while I was there after you left. Or that one year, your senior year, my sophomore year, I went 4 for 4 that game because I spent the whole game picking and passing the ball to you. And I think you lit them up for about 30 or whatever it was. You constantly gave everybody the business, 30 plus. But I went 4 for 4 that game, and that year I felt that was one of my most complete games because I played good defense, I had assists, rebounds, and I didn't miss.
Hey, everything we did against them that game mattered.
Big time.
We actually needed that type of performance from everybody when we lost them in district finals.
Yeah.
And to this day, I don't think a number of my teammates knew how long I held that against them.
Yeah.
Because after the game, that was my senior year, my last game, and I think finality hits us all differently. But I felt I was having a really good year, and I thought I had an opportunity to get drafted. Had a great first half. I remember the game vividly. Great first half. Maybe 20 plus in the first half. We're up, and they go to a box and one. And our freshman disappeared. And our senior point guard, they just, after the game, it was not no one took it as serious. And they were in the locker room, kind of jovial about it, no big deal. And for many years, I don't even know how many, I'd come back to the alumni game with a mission. I used to get asked, why do you play so hard in the alumni games? One, there's no fun in losing. But two, I was still seething about the loss and the attitude they took after losing that game, because it meant that much.
Yeah. You were a fierce competitor, and myself the same. I'll share a quick story with you before we move on. I went home, can't remember how many years it's been now, to play in an alumni game against the Steelers. So, Pittsburgh Steelers will put together a team and go around and play at different high schools. And I didn't know it was a fundraiser. I'm being told that, hey, these guys are coming to play. And who all was on that team? They had like Louis Lips and Antonio Brown was on that team. Antonio Brown's good athlete, right? Super quick, can jump, good basketball player, right? So we're up by like 2 points with like a minute left. And I have the ball, like kind of really just dribbling the clock out unless they're going to come out and play defense, right? He's sitting there cussing me out, calling me all kind of names because he wants me to shoot the ball, and I didn't. So while he was doing that, and then eventually he comes out and somebody moved, and David Young, who's David Young Jr., who's probably the best player in the history of our school and our county, right? He cuts back door, I throw him the ball, he dunks it, we go by 4, we win. So later somebody tells me, you were supposed to let them win. Like, this is my house, this is where we played. We went to the state championship back in '82. I'm used to winning. I don't know how to throw games, and I can't turn it off, right? So he was pissed. Like Antonio Brown called us all kind of names, and me specifically, and I just laughed at him. But
I understand perfectly.
But yeah, so I get that, and the same thing, like people like Kobe who came out of Philly as well, right? Like they didn't understand why he played so hard in All-Star, but you see why he was so great. It's like you can't turn it off. If this is who you are, you don't turn it on and off. It's like how you do one, this is how you do everything.
That's correct.
Yep. So with that said, Craig has 3 sons, and all 3 of his sons took after him and picked up the craft. Can you go through your children one by one and break down, who they are, what they did, and how the sport has touched their life and all that good stuff?
Sure, I can do that. Firstly, I must give credit. My ex-wife, their mother was a Division I basketball player. So, I have 3 sons who are college graduates because of that relationship. I'll start with my oldest son, Lance Randall. Played at Ursuline High School, graduated from Ursuline High School in Youngstown. Went on to play at Wheeling Jesuit University for a couple of years, and ended up graduating from Teal College. All-conference player there. Led them to the playoffs, successful career. And Lance was unique. In high school, Lance was extremely, extremely good defensively. Long, 6'3", athletic, sneaky athletic. Shot the ball, fairly well. In college, he had a similar role. And after college, he ended up running a basketball academy in China for almost 3 to 4 years, where he was teaching the fundamentals of the game of basketball to in an academy. So he has done. So he's been in the game, coached at the college level for a year, community college in Washington State. So he, had a successful run at the game, in the game, and as a college graduate. My middle son, Kyle, who played at Kennedy Catholic, a very renowned high school in Sharon, Pennsylvania, or Farrow, Pennsylvania, is one of the all-time leading scorers in the history of the school. Scored over 2,000 points in high school. Was player of the year in the state of Pennsylvania. Lost in the state finals. Went on to star for 3 years. Played at 3 years at UNC Greensboro, and finished up his high school career, his college career. Graduated in 3 years from UNCG, and spent a year at Central Michigan University. Led the MAC in scoring. Went on to play professionally in the NBA G League and abroad in Serbia. Is now coaching. It has his own gymnasium. I'm blessed to have he and his wife, my bonus daughter, have 2 unbelievable children. One son at 5 and daughter at 3. They run and operate a gymnasium in Washington State, where he and she deliver community-based services through athletics. She was a professional softball player, college standout as well. So they are giving back to the community, to the sports that they love. He just recently took a professional coaching gig in the TBL. Will be coaching professionally in Washington State next year. So they have maintained the commitment to the game. Um, Both again are loving what they do. My youngest son, who many might know now because he still plays. Kyle is retired. Craig still plays. He's actually trained by his brother and has been since his senior year in college. Craig spent a couple of years at University of Memphis and then transferred to Duquesne. Didn't play. Finished his college career at University of Tennessee at Martin. And it was COVID year. He came out of school. And that year really impacted a lot of college players. Didn't get drafted. Thought he would get drafted. Didn't get drafted. We end up paying. I ended up paying for him to try out in the G League. So he went to a couple open tryouts. End up making a roster, the Long Island Nets in 21-22. His first game as a pro, he played about 46 seconds. Came back home, spent some time with his brother. They had this preseason type environment. Came back home after that. One guy got hurt. Similar scenario. Guy got hurt. He gets into the starting lineup and did not come out. His second half of that season, he ended up being most improved player in the G League. Averaged almost 27 a game. And had a great rookie year. He goes to play in Australia the following year. That team comes back that he played on against the Phoenix Suns, who had just lost the previous year to the Milwaukee Bucks in the finals. Team with Mikal Bridges and Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and Chris Paul, and DeAndre Ayton. They beat the Phoenix Suns that year. He leads the NBA preseason in scoring at 31 a game. He had 35 against them, and has since played in France and a couple different stints in the G League. And we're anticipating him continuing his career this year. He too is married and has also taken a couple foster kids in to help improve the quality of life, provide an environment for them to excel as young men as well. So as a dad, I'm extremely proud of what they've done, and it has definitely allowed me to has allowed me to achieve as a parent what all parents would love, and that's see your kids successful in the thing that you have loved and have given your life to, and has provided a opportunity for you to grow. So that's the three sons.
Okay, good stuff. And I had a chance to I met up with you when my son Noah was probably about 10 years old.
Yes.
We came up to Tennessee, see Kyle play.
Yep.
I think it was a playoff game. And I followed Craig's career that season that you're talking about. He had a string of games where he scored over like 30, and then he had a string of 40-plus point games. And then last time I had seen that year, if I'm not mistaken, I think he may have finished second leading scorer in the league that year.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
Great story, man. So which of those three remind you more of yourself as far as the competitive spirit?
They all have parts of me, but obviously the youngest kind of absorbs the other two. Kyle would be considered a silent assassin. He doesn't say very much, but is competitive as competitive can get. Will bite your head off, fight you, but you would never know it because he's quiet. Craig is, Lance is similar to Kyle from that perspective. Don't put him in a corner. But Craig is a lot like me, fiery. And unfortunately, that has been a little bit of a challenge for him at times. But they get it honest. They are competitive as get. And as a dad, we are still competitive. I mean, it's. I'll give you a story. My Lance was a senior in high school, and I was still playing, or attempting to. And we were at an open gym, uh, and he's coming down on fast break, thinking he was going to dunk. That did not happen. I literally took him out. That's how competitive we were. It was that serious. He hurt his arm. He hurt his hand. I mean, so it was. We compete. They get it. They get it honest. They get it. And candidly, the mother was the same way.
Wow. Good stuff, man. So let's change the pace a little bit here. So that's the basketball side of Craig. Also, Craig, after college, turned into an entrepreneur. And I remember my grandmother and my aunt, my mom, they would always send me newspaper articles because I had moved away. I moved down south at that point. And they would send me articles, and I was sent an article where you embraced the front cover of the Youngstown Vindicator as a businessman. So can you tell me a little bit about your entrepreneur career and how basketball impacted you as an entrepreneur?
I think long before I was an entrepreneur, I was an employee. I had the opportunity to work for several companies coming out of college, some renowned uh, organizations. I learned my degree was computer science, so I programmed for several years and then end up going into sales, um, which uh, was significant because the transition from sitting behind a desk to being in front of people is something that I kind of found my niche. Uh, so for the first 5 or 6 years of beyond college, I was an employee, uh, and outside. As a result of being unemployed, uh, I decided, uh, or was led, however you want to label it, to start a company. Uh, and that company at the time was started right around the uh, when the internet was just beginning to catch a buzz. Late 90s, late 80s, early 90s, when we were just beginning to experience the power of the internet. Having had exposure to several technologies, um, I embarked upon an entrepreneurial career, um, and started a systems integration firm. And that firm specifically dealt with, we call it now digital transformation, but I was automating technologies I was automating organizations' document process uh, functions, and did that for 12 years. And in that span, one of the things that became that's significant today was technology incubators. And Youngstown today is known for having uh, some of the most successful technology incubators in the state of Ohio and across the country. But at the time, I was one of the first technology companies to go into their new developing incubator. And it was said that I was one of the first people of color to grace the front page on a Sunday morning of the Youngstown Vindicator that wasn't on there for killing somebody or robbing somebody. So that was a great feeling and an accomplishment at the time. I don't think I knew, and I still probably don't know the significance of it, but I know it was an honor to be featured at that time.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So are you still doing software, or what are you doing today?
Uh, Obviously, I've been in technology sales for the better part of 30 years. Uh, maybe even longer. Yeah, better part of 30 years. Today, I'm still heavily involved in technology sales, but more of a leader. I work for a large multinational technology services organization, and I'm responsible for relationships across the state of Florida in the industries of healthcare and higher education. Uh, Role is really focused on relationship expansion, um, collaborating with many subject matter experts across uh, our organization to bring the right technologies uh, and the right people to the table to solve uh, technology issues within organizations. Run roughly about a $13 million business today for the organization. Some would actually call it, I'm the CEO of Florida, quarterback, but doing what I've always done. Um, you know, Trying to have an impact and help solve problems.
So with that said, and still on the same question, because I tell a lot of people, like I look at basketball is it being bigger than a sport. Like it influenced a lot of the things that I've accomplished in my life have come from the discipline that I picked up playing ball, like teamwork, uh, just working hard, like all of these different things, right? That they spill over in life. How much of that do you feel has impacted the success that you found in business and in life?
It's had a significant impact. As you stated, um, being a part of team sports uh, is significant in today's work environment because you have to be a part of a team. What separates us as athletes is when you've had a level of success that's uncommon, you understand the work necessary to be above average, or is what I call to be exceptional. Behaviors that you develop, the disciplines, the doing the extra work, uh, those are things that have carried through to my professional life, uh, not just as an entrepreneur, but as an employee. Conflict resolution as a team, as a member of a team, everybody's not going to agree with each other. So you have to have the ability to communicate uh, how to get everybody going in the right direction. Everybody has different agendas, um, but those things allow you to function today in the work environments that we traffic in. For me, particularly, uh, no one reports to me directly, but I'm responsible for ensuring that everybody is successful because my success is only dependent upon is totally dependent upon how everybody else is successful. So all of those experiences uh, have contributed, to my success and how I function today in the business community that we're in.
So uh, rest in peace to Coach Galbraith, by the way. That was our
Yes.
coach at Westminster. Like great father, businessman, great coach, was a great former player there at Westminster himself. What kind of relationship did you have with Coach?
Growing up, uh, not having a true father figure at home, coming out the inner city, uh, you know, sporadic father figures. Um, Coach Galbraith and I really had a unique, special bond. Um, he took me under his wing. I used to babysit his children. I had great respect and admiration for what he represented. Uh, my teammates thought I was given special treatment uh, because we were so close. There was a level of trust that was established by the things I did off the court that translated to the things I was allowed to do on the court because he knew uh, I put in the work. And I think that that is so uh, significant today in how the people we work for, the trust that we develop is driven by relationship. And I learned a lot of that from Coach Galbraith. he was probably one of the more influential men that I've come across in my developmental years, especially at Westminster, because Westminster wasn't all that pleasant. There were uh, several experiences that occurred while at Westminster uh, that impacted who I've become today. Remember Dr. Taggart, Dr. McTaggart?
Yes.
Coming out of Philadelphia, uh, I was not a good writer. I spoke with what I learned is broken English, or what we call Ebonics, what is called Ebonics today by many. Um, so I didn't write well. And I remember uh, I was not doing well in his class. And he came and told Coach Galbraith, if Craig thinks he's going to pass my class speaking Black English, it's not going to work.
Wow.
Now, yeah, it was that raw. Uh, but he was different than many instructors. He backed up those words by providing tutoring for me. Uh, and it was experiences like that through Westminster. Um, it's easy to take offense because of how it was said. And we do that often by what we hear and not really pay attention to the content. It was a life-changing experience. And it really helped create, a platform and a pathway. It was those types of experience at Westminster. And Coach Galbraith was one that supported that. And I remember I used to paint. I never went home. I used to work painting dorm rooms and cleaning dorm rooms during the summer.
I did. He had us all doing it.
That's how I earned money.
Yeah.
Uh, and so all of those things contributed to what we do today as professionals. As an entrepreneur, I had an approach. I never would ask anybody to do a job that I wouldn't do.
Facts.
And that is, true today. There isn't a job that is too big or too small, right? So those are the types of experiences that have translated to me being a professional.
Yeah. Good stuff, man. Yeah, you just brought back some memories. So I had Dr. McTaggart as well. Yeah, and he had great relationship with a lot of the students.
Yes.
I think some of the students would drink with him.
Yeah, I wasn't one of them.
I wasn't either, but I did have a good relationship with him and enjoyed his class, by the way. And then Coach Galbraith, Coach owned a lot of the homes in the community that the students rented. So, and Coach, yeah. Oh, you rented one of his homes as well. So
I rented one.
So Coach would be like, hey, like when we work basketball camps in the summer, hey guys, would you like to come and paint some houses and I'll provide pizza and drinks?
Mm-hmm.
Like Coca-Cola when we were kids, we drank it like it was water. But yeah, he would sucker us into painting his houses and doing all this other for pennies on. But it created a lot of discipline, and it was something that I never forgot. And for a while, I was real estate investing, plan on doing it again soon. And the inspiration came from Coach Galbraith. He was.
He inspired a lot of us to do a lot of different things.
Big time.
He inspired a lot of us. His handprint is on a lot of our lives, and he really did have an impact.
Big time. So with all this said, Craig, what advice would you have for young men and women out there who, are aspiring athletes or, just aspiring to be good human beings? What advice would you give them?
I think recognizing that sports is a great metaphor for life. your ability to communicate, understanding that everybody starts at different points, you mature at different points, your success will look different. Um, there's no uh, proper formula. And there was a saying that George Lehman would have that I adopted is player forms habits, habits form futures. You know, proper preparation when it meets opportunity will guarantee success. Um, the key is proper preparation. Practice doesn't make perfect, practice makes permanent. These are things that are um, foundational truths for me as an athlete and as a person, or I try to be. Um, you know, Success is, we look at it on the surface as being a straight line, but it's never a straight line. Uh, Having had various experiences professionally, having been, at the top of my craft as an athlete, um, but starting at the lowest level, only playing 2 years of high school basketball, never being a starter in high school, uh, but worked every day to be a starter. Uh, and in college, the same way. It just so happened I had was a different path. Uh, Scoring uh, a lot of points doesn't necessarily you're successful. It's only successful when you can contribute that and it impacts winning. Um, the same is true professionally. All your experiences may not be pleasant, uh, of which I've had several. Uh, I share a story. I always often say bad things happen to good people. Uh,
True.
no one's exempt. Uh, and the title of the uh, today's session, easy is on the other side of hard. Um, Both are relative. Easy is relative to some. Um, what's easy to me might not be easy to you. What's hard to you might not be hard to me. Uh, Case in point, having had all the experiences, being unemployed, being homeless, working in my 50s for $14 an hour. Uh, they don't define who you are. They're experiences that you should try to learn from and become better. So as I look at today's young people or those who may be experiencing tough times don't last. We say tough people do. Um, so understanding that, everybody's individual experiences are not an indicator of who they are. It's how we respond to it and, how we internalize. And, we have a saying, my sons and I, you don't win or lose, you win or learn. Uh, so those experiences, can you learn from them? Uh, uh, and are you willing to make the necessary changes uh, to not reproduce them? Uh, so being able to take those experiences and learn from them and figuring out what you don't know and not be afraid to uh, ask for help. And I think that's also the other part of it. You know, we all are prideful, we all have egos, but at a certain point, you have to kick all of that to the side and be willing to raise your hand and ask for help. Recognize that you don't have all the answers, uh, and be willing to listen. And as we say, communication is two-way. It's listening as well as it is talking. So um, that would be some of the things that I would uh, suggest to those who are, you know, pursuing athletic prowess, those who are looking to improve or to get into the business arena, going to work for a corporation. Understanding that it's everybody gets there at different points. There are no formulas. There are no exact right or wrong ways. It's finding where you fit, how you fit, and leveraging all those experiences to help me get there.
Good stuff, man. Beautifully said. And a lot of things that you just shared with us and how you approach life and the way you think. I've said some of those exact same things. Like I would never ask somebody to do something that I wouldn't do. Uh, and the whole philosophy for me, like how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Facts.
And I've seen the way you play ball. I see the way you approach life. And it's like life's gonna life, right? Everything's about the ebbs and flows, but to have that tool set to be able to bounce back and to show humility and to learn and to show resilience, that's everything. That's everything. So we're gonna wrap up here. Is there anything else you would like to share with the audience?
No, this has been awesome. Um, I've said to you privately, we'll say it publicly, your words are extremely kind. Uh, I'm relatively private, uh, and this was a stretch for me to say some things publicly. But I appreciate the platform, uh, and
Definitely.
our friendship obviously is one of substance and has been solid since day one. Uh, and you have been as much of an inspiration to me uh, that you're probably not even aware of. Uh, but it's a mutual respect and friendship and much love.
Oh, same, same. So another thing before we wrap up here, is there a book or books that you would like to share with the audience? We always like to refer them to books. It doesn't have to be on anything we talked about today. It could be, but any books or book that you think could inspire
Yeah,
people.
obviously there's the book, and the
Right.
Bible is one that has many truths, uh, many uh, secrets to success. Um, but independent of that, there's a book that I've read called The Four Agreements. Uh, it is a book on uh, life. There's a book called The Garden Within. Um, I'm actually reading an audiobook now called Inner Excellence. It's dealing with self mastery. Um, obviously, as a business professional, Stephen Covey has several books. Um, but I am constantly looking for ways to get better, uh, titles that get my attention. Um, Bishop Jakes has a book out called Disruptive Thinking. Um, so there are, anecdotal books. There are books for inspiration. There are books just try to increase, um, who you are, better understanding of who you are. So those are just a few.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And one last thing. This podcast is titled Matters of Heart and Soul Podcast. And we always like to wrap it up by asking you today, like there's a lot going on in the world, people like professionally, personally, worldly. At this point in time, what is the matter of your heart?
That's a really good question. We live in a very different time today. Um, there's a lot of information uh, being put out today. Um, and I think, when I think of what's the matter of my heart is our young people today. Um, they're being bombarded with information, and a lot of it is not accurate. Uh, so praying that they have uh, a good circle of resources, um, so that they're able to get better information, tried information, uh, and have those support systems that some of us had, uh, that will allow them to make better decisions. Um, and have some of the experiences that we shared in, on the various playing surfaces and professionally. Obviously, I said we're living in a different time today. So really, it's our young people. I have two grandchildren. Um, you know, I'm probably going to have my youngest son is married as well. Um, I'm probably anticipating an environment for my grandchildren that's better than what it is today. Uh, so it's really our the next generation.
Okay, good stuff. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Craig Randall, a brother who, inspired many, including myself. Incredible athlete, great father, great human being. A lot of love and respect to you, brother. Hopefully we could do this again in the future. And
Likewise.
all right, and until the next episode, everybody out there, peace.